Hello everyone, if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, this is the At the Races 2022 Royal Ascot Preview Show in association with Betfred. That's in association with Betfred. Joining me in the studio for the show is Mr. Jason Weaver, a man who destroyed Mick Kinnan at Royal Ascot. Bijou, Dan, you absolutely had Kinnan, didn't you?
I would love to say yes, but maybe old Mickey Joe went a little bit too early on one occasion and he allowed me that luxury of getting him back. But obviously a great memory, Matt, from what is an incredible meeting, isn't it? You know, all the way through from handicaps to the two-year-olds are what really light it up as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Of course, Jason Weaver is an Ascot Gold Cup winning jockey, a multiple Group 1 winning jockey. He's ridden over 1,000 winners. And so you need a similarly top guest to match him on the show. Unfortunately, we just have this man. Kevin Blake from Ireland. Good evening to you, Kevin. Welcome to the show.
Oh, good evening, gents. A pleasure as always. I just love spending my evenings in the virtual company of Matt Chapman, and that's what I love. It really makes my day, my week, my month, the whole lot.
Kev, we should worry, shouldn't we? Because the Irish will bring over an incredibly strong contingent for the excellent Royal Ascot meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this meeting takes place in Britain, Jason, but it's a huge factor for an awful lot of Irish trainers. All the big guys love having runners there. They love having winners there. It's so special. It's so unique. It's an incredible occasion. And I'd say, without doubt in my mind, the most difficult race meeting in the world to have a winner at. You know, even the lesser races, the handicaps, exceptionally hard to win. You know, huge fields, horses lined up from a long way out for it, all over the place. So difficult to have a winner. Every winner matters. And there'll hopefully be a couple of Irish ones at least, Jason. I think there might be a few.
I think, Shark, Kevin's talking about being a trainer there. But, of course, for him, he's probably talking about being a punter. Because, I mean, you made Cheltenham look pretty difficult. Do you think this will be even harder, Kev?
Always difficult, Matt, but we try our best. And as you well know, Matt, if you don't swing big, you don't land big. And occasionally, one or two hit the mark.
Don't be fooled by him, viewers, either. Do not be fooled on your social media channels. If the fee is big enough, Kev will work with absolutely anyone, as this show proves. Shall we start with arguably the shortest price favourite of the meeting at the moment? Of course, the Queen Anne Stakes kicks off Royal Ascot 2022 on Sky Sports Racing and At the Races. And the Queen Anne, of course, features Bide, the world's #1 racehorse. Jason, let's just get straight into it. Does he basically just turn up and win this and we'll get on to race 2?
He does. We're you know, if you're coming in, he's got that sexy, unbeaten record. Real desperate news regarding Hookham the other day, you know, the brother, as far as we don't know what's going to happen with him continuing. And we've only relatively recently lost Sheikh Hamdan. And all of the years and pedigrees and the amount of money that he put into the game, looking for that superstar stallion. Could this lad, there's no guarantee when he goes and starts his second job, but at this moment in time, the signs are right. So we're already looking forward to that. And will we see another sort of Frankel-esque appearance on the racecourse? That's what we're hoping for, I think, Kev.
Yeah, look what this horse did last year in the space of a few months, you know, was ridiculous, really. You know, to go from winning an ordinary enough maiden to becoming European champion miler in the space of a few months. You know, I think it was unprecedented, really. Fabulous decision from his connections to bring him back this season. And what we saw at Newbury suggests that, as Matt says, this is the best horse in the world. And while he might not meet a huge amount of opposition here, one can only hope he goes and puts on a show. And look, while a 3-1 on favourite isn't going to be for everyone, you know, you don't have to back or lay the favourite to have an interest in the race. There'll be without the favourite markets on the day. There'll be each way markets. And Al Dari in the same ownership. If he turns up, Matt, like, he's a horse I really like. He's taken the slow road, I suppose, to get to a Group 1. He came up through the handicap ranks last season. won a couple of the season's biggest handicaps. And I loved his winning comeback at Haydock over 7 furlongs. You know, he's crying out for the return to a mile. I suspect he is a Group 1 horse. Is he a champion like Baaid? Perhaps not, but I wouldn't like to underestimate him. He's going to be there in the mix to get in the frame. And if you wanted one at a much, much bigger price, Accidental Agent won this race a few years ago now, but his most recent run in the Victoria Cup was excellent. He loves Ascot, and he could well hit the frame at a big price, I think. Yeah,
and we're just sort of guessing with a few of those at bigger prices to go and snatch a little slice of the pie, aren't we? And I was having a look at Sir Michael Stout's entries for the week, and he was a little bit lighter than usual, but obviously Lights On will go in the opener, and it'd just be like Stouty to get one to run an enormous race. But they're all basically pushing water uphill, aren't they, going against Baaid?
I mean, team, when I saw that Chindit was about 12 to 1, no offence to Chindit, who's got bits and bobs of good form, but if he's 12 to 1 for this, then Baaid, it's not surprised he's long odds on, really. I agree with Kevin. I thought Accidental Agent could run into the frame at 33s. I mean, Order of Australia is a Breeders' Cup mile winner.
Yep.
It's not a complete mug.
Sabusco, is he down the bottom there or whatever? He's
about 50.
It's a huge price, and he will be left alone to do his own thing, and he could rattle home when the race is basically over, if you like. You know, just one of those you're thinking will latch into a price at a place at a big price.
Yeah, I think with Sabusco and Accidental Agent, what you're really getting is 2 horses that are sort of ridden for the place.
Yeah.
And what you don't really want with a big price horse is one really going for the win, because they're not going to win it. They're not going to beat Baaid. But if they go for that, that will smash them up. So you want people just to be sensible and go for the places with those kind of horses. And I think Accidental Agent's often a bit slowly away anyway. And Sabusco is always ridden like a horse to close.
Yeah. So listen, I think we all agree Baaid and everybody else is just trying to get a little slice of it, haven't they?
What a start, though.
Yeah, it's
You've
a
got
great
the world's
start.
greatest meeting, starting with the world's greatest horse, with arguably one of the world's greatest trainers. Jim Crowley, brilliant as well, in the colours of Shabwell. It's all there just for the meeting to explode with this magnificent performance and take us in to the King Stand Stakes, where we see the speedsters and global speedsters at that. Golden Pal from America at 15 to 8. Nature Strip from Australia, g'day, at 11 to 4. And then we get to Twilight Calls at 10. Your Majesty, welcome to the 2022 Royal Ascot Preview Show. If you're watching on YouTube or indeed elsewhere, we hope you enjoy the show, and you have King's Lynn in there. Let's start with you, Kevin. Why are you smiling like that? Why are you smiling?
Just the mental image of the Queen tuning in on YouTube tickled me a little bit there, but I hope you're right. Good evening, Your Majesty, if you have.
I could imagine her with the new 65-inch Sky Glass straight in there on the new YouTube channel. But anyway, that's another story. She might not have that. It's allegedly, and I didn't mean it seriously. The international flavour really comes to the fore here.
Yeah, it's great to see it. Look, the Australians haven't been all that active, you know, since that they had a wonderful, successful streak there, you know, over a decade ago. We haven't seen them coming over in meaningful numbers for a while. So it's great that they've pumped over a few really interesting contenders. And Nature Strip is one of the features amongst them. And this is him winning the TJ Smith Group 1. And they kind of, you know, he jumped out. He had a wide draw, jumped out, made the running. I'm watching this race back, Matt. I thought they all kind of left him do his own thing in front. And he picked up well and won well. You know, he's clearly on the ratings. He's a world-class sprinter. But it'd be a different type of job for him here. You know, straight 5 furlongs, stiff 5 furlongs. It'll be an interesting test for him, but you have to respect him. And of the, I suppose, the big 2 international raiders in this particular race, he's the one that I'd favour, because Golden Pal. Look, we're going to see some footage of him here, and he looks exactly what he is. He's really, really fast. You know, he's electric from the gates. He shows huge mid-race speed, and it's just a case of whether he can hold on over the stiff 5 here. But I can't quite get the image of him out of my head in the Norfolk here a couple of years ago. He did what he always does. He jumped from the gates, showed loads of speed, but he got run down late on by the Learjet on ground with a bit of an ease in it. And, you know, he might just get softened up by the likes of Winter Power here, possibly mid-race. And I'm just going to take a chance that he might well get run down late. And To give a hint to my end of show selections, Matt, I've made him my lay of the meeting, which I think will might upset one or two people, maybe even so a fella sitting beside you there.
Yeah, no, listen, I can understand where you're coming from, and if you went back to that Nunthorpe run, it was just he literally was going too quick, and the rider was a bit of a passenger, and it didn't happen at all. However, we're led to believe, aren't we, that Irad is coming over to partner all of Wesley's horses, and it's about gate speed early on and how much of an advantage he can have in the early stages. And here's a little look back at the Breeders' Cup, and he goes in against the best speedsters here, but just how quick he is up into stride, and within moments he's got an advantage. Yes, I know it's the stiff 5. I'm hoping that the ground stays relatively quickish for him. And I think he probably should have beaten the Learjet, if I'm being honest. I think he got it all wrong in the gates when he ran there.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to talk about that specific race, because it's around a sharp bend.
Sure.
Is it possible that it's easier to use that tactic in American races round a sharp bend, but it's actually going to be more of a stamina test for him on the straight track?
No, it is going to be a stamina test. He won over 5.5 last time at Keeneland, admittedly round the turn. So it's a similar sort of scenario. But he clicked through 5.5 furlongs in 1:02 and a bit, which is an absolute rocket time. And I know they're dealing on quick surfaces and everything else, but he's shown a good bit of form already at Ascot. He should have won when he got beaten by the Learjet. I'm going to give him one bad day at the office and let him off with a bit of a pass at York. And I just feel that he'll blast and go. And I think that Irad will have built up enough of an advantage, and he may well be coming up for air, and it's going to be, will the line come in time, or will the wall come in time around about half a furlong out?
And it's one of those. Sorry, Matt. There is an in-running angle, an obvious in-running angle to this as well. You know, if you do like him, you can always put in a bit of an insurance lay there at a short price. If you don't like him, and you're like me, you think he might wilt close home, you could get brave and put in some in-running lays at odds on there that will hopefully get taken when it looks like it's all over. So there is angles to this. It's a really interesting race, and look, sure, he makes it very interesting with his presence.
The problem with these international horses is it's very hard to get a line, isn't it? Because some of these horses hack up. We've seen it in the past. Some of them blow out completely. And I just felt that Nature Strip and Golden Pound might be two that blow out. I might be against both of you two. And I thought Man of Promise during Dubai was most progressive. I think he was beaten by the draw on Dubai World Cup night. And I just thought that at 14-1, I might try and risk him against the big two worldies on the basis that it's perfectly possible for a traveller to just completely flop.
I mean, when you go down through all the remainder that we can see there, Man of Promise, King's Lynn, could he possibly be the best of Her Majesty's runner on the week, or is it going to be a reach for the moon? I think they have Just Fire, but he's one of those who may well go for the John Smith rather than turn up at the Royal Meeting. So, you know, there are a few in there. I mean, Twilight Calls, has he still got a bit of wriggle room to show us something else?
Yeah, he was my selection, to be honest, Jason. Yeah, like I've loved him this season. He'd remind you of his dad, Twilight Sun, the way he's progressing, you know, up through handicap ranks and now into Group 1 company. Loved him when he won at Newmarket earlier in the season in a handicap, and you know, he's been better than the result the last twice. You know, he was in the wrong part of the track at Newmarket his next day after that, and last time at Haydock when he was just nipped by King's Lynn, you know, he had to wait long enough to get into open country. So I think a race like this where they go bananas in front, you know, he'll never have had more pace in front of him than he'll have here. I think that will suit him really well. And Ryan Moore is going to take over in the saddle as well. That's a very positive booking. So I thought he might be the one to shake up the internationals possibly.
Yeah, quite a lot of internationals in here. If you have a quick look at the Dubai race, where a Case View was in there, Man of Promise just was back in third, Jason, and this was on the back of 2 wins for Man of Promise, who is in the blue. Case of View is on the rails. I'm not absolutely sure Case of View is still in this race. But
he's going to go for the Platinum Jubilee on Saturday.
Yeah, he is, yeah. So it's Man of Promise we're just concentrating on here, but this was a night where you wanted to be next to the rail.
Yeah, well,
I don't think Man of Promise produced quite his best.
No, but he's passed on the outside by Happy Romance, who absolutely stays on stoutly in the closing stages. I mean, A Case of You has been an absolute superstar for Ado McGuinness and Ronan Whelan. So, I'll give him credit when he turns up later on in the week. That's 100% sure. Man of Promise, he's a squeak, Matt, but he needs to bounce back a little bit. But you're not. It wouldn't be beyond the realms that he will be prepped and ready to go for straight off the plane, if you like, after Group 1 races.
So if everyone's just forgotten at home while we've been rabbling on, let's just remind you, if you were smashing up our friends at Betfred, you will be smashing them up with, Kevin?
Twilight Calls.
Shark, you're all over.
I'm all over Golden Pal. I think that he is going to run a hole in the wind for Wesley Ward and Irad Ortiz.
Oh, I can't wait to clip this back. I really want... I'm going to go Man of Promise, but I want you so badly to win this. And we can clip up Blake absolutely slagging you off, as he often does, of course, because he's very opinionated. He's always right. And then we can watch that till Cheltenham. And then we can revel in last year's Cheltenham.
Play it out again.
And play it out again. Let's go over to the St James's Palace Stakes, where the Kipco 2,000 Guineas winner Coribus is back, hopefully back. It's been a bit quiet on the news front with Coribus recently, but presumably he's absolutely A1. 4-9. My Prospero looked like an absolute giant, I thought, at Sandown at 9-2, but it's still a big jump to Coribus. Maljoom at 7-1. New Energy at 14-1. Mighty Ulysses at 16 and 25-1. Bar Shark, we'll start with you on this occasion. Is this another Baid situation?
I think that this horse, Coribus, is going to be suited to the St James's Palace Mile. Round a nice right-hand turn. He's got a great way of going. He's got a lovely low head carriage. He'll skip around the turn at Ascot, and I think it will sort of play to his strengths. The forgotten horse in the lineup, and we can talk about a good few of these because they've got some quite nice improvers. I don't know if he definitely does take his chance, Kev. You can either say he's a nonner or he might go elsewhere. Acle of Aidan O'Brien's Acle, the horse who ran up behind Coribus last year, and he was in a good couple of races. He's a talent, like he's out there at 33s. I'm not sure if he's going to run, but I was thinking that he'd definitely be an improver.
Yeah, he's a horse I was looking forward to this year, Jason. I thought he could possibly develop into a Derby type, maybe. But I know he did have a setback in the spring that slowed him down, and that's why we haven't seen him so far. And I can't say I've heard anything in the last few weeks to suggest he's going here. But look, they've left him in the race today, so he must be somewhat on track. And he'd definitely be an interesting one if he lines up.
Yeah, because when you go through the others, I mean, My Prospero is obviously on the improve. We saw him Reach for the Moon the other day.
I think that could have been Shark, a monster.
Yeah, well, it was a good run. Maljoom, obviously, he's off the back of winning at Doncaster when he was only half cooked. He came out, won at Kempton, and then went to the German 2000, which was a really good performance. Mighty Ulysses sort of blotted his copybook the other day, getting beat, didn't he? Although he was lumping a big weight, but they're all reaching really for the top horse again, aren't they, Coribus?
Yeah, I love Coribus. Look, I loved him last year. He was a horse that clearly always had like a huge amount of pace and power, and it was just a case of holding on to him as long as you dare to get the best of it. And James was holding on to him as best he could at Newmarket, but then he said himself afterwards, Ryan arrived up on his outside with Luxembourg and made him kind of push the button a little bit earlier than he wanted to. And look, he's still quickened up, got to the front and got the job done. Now, the 2,000 Guineas was a really interesting race because there was a perception there that Coribus was in the favoured part of the track over towards the far side, whereas Native Trail, the eventual runner-up, came near side. So look, Native Trail's come out and been a little bit workmanlike in the Irish 2000. It'll be fascinating to see if Coribus backs up what we saw at Newmarket. I've no real doubts about it, to be honest. I think he'll be perfectly fine. But look, as we mentioned with Baid, he's a very sharp price. So you want to get a little bit creative, try and find something to hit the frame, something in a without favourite market. And, the one I landed on here, and I actually really like him, lads. And he's a big old price. Is Light Infantry. He's near enough the outsider of the whole lot. I really liked him last season. Very impressive in a maiden, very strong on the clock. And he went to the Horace Hill, giving up experience to a lot of them. And I was fearful that he might be a bit raw. And he was plenty raw, but he still went and won. and he ran the 2,000 guineas. It was a big duck into deep water for him for his first run back. And just go and watch it back. You know, I thought he ran a stormer. He's last 2 furlongs out. Spencer has elected to follow native trail on what turned out to be the unfavoured near side, and he's actually finished off the race quite well. You know, I think there's definitely more to come from him. You know, he was beaten 6 3/4 by Corbus, but he was on the wrong side of the track. He's come from a long way back. He's surely going to naturally improve, you know, from just the third run in his life for a horse that looked a slow learner. I know, and he's going for this race. I know it's the intention to run. So he's one I could see improving and certainly hitting the frame. Look, you might be asking a lot for him to go and win, but if you're not in, you can't win, Matt. I think 33s might be the best price about him at the minute. He was 66s yesterday. And I think he's one that could reward some each-way support.
Yeah, and Kevin, if you sat down and spoke to David Simcock, he'd tell you that there were some sectionals in the, I think from the 3 to the 1, where he was probably one of the quickest horses in the 2000 at Newmarket. So he believes that he's massively underestimated going in there. And it's not a tactic, isn't it? It's not a... something that you would see from yesteryear with a Clyde Britton throwing one in there at a big price. When you see Simcock and Spencer throwing one in at a big price, but in a classic, it means they've been showing plenty.
Yeah, and look, if there was a drop of rain, you'd be even happier. Look, the ground was very quick at Newmarket and he ran well on it, but I suspect, you know, looking at his form as a 2-year-old and the way he moves, he's by fast company. If there was a drop of rain, you'd be even happier. So, he's very interesting now. My eye's been really drawn to him in recent days.
Just want to mention one other horse. Berkshire Shadow, I just wonder, might be the Who Ya Mal or Massacala for Andrew Balding, because he was 4th in the Dewhurst, not beaten far by Native Trail, 5th in the Guineas, only 5 lengths. I mean, we haven't got the draw, obviously, at the time of speaking. If Coribus happened to be the worst drawn, and remember, he's never been away from Newmarket, he's never been round a bend. If you're taking on a 2 to 5 shot, what you're looking for is little things that might mean that he doesn't run to his best. And this is a horse who's had 4 runs in his life, all on a straight course, all at Newmarket, never been away from home. And
the one time that he did catch the rider out, you remember, when he went for home early, and then Royal Patronage came and nailed him late on. But that is surely going to play to his strengths around here. You can ride him like a motorbike, can't you? You can pop him in behind the pace, ride him halfway round up the hill, out, gone, wallop, you know, and use that explosive change of gear. So the race sort of just looks really tailor-made for him, which is sometimes a worry when everything looks so straightforward. He
does only have a mark of 115, Coribus. I currently thought that maybe for a Guineas winner, he might be a bit higher than that with Native Trail, and certainly most of the form is standing up well, but he's not miles clear. In fact... He's up to 121. He's up to 121, is he? Right, sorry, I've only got 115 down here, so that would make sense.
Don't blame your source now, man. Facts are important, Matt. You have to get these things right.
This is what happens when you use modern technology, you see.
Ouch, 115. Come on. Anyway, so we all agree anyway, but Kev has thrown one in there at a huge price. Like Infantry.
Shadow.
You got Berkshire Shadow at a big price. Do you think he's going to be the one that's underestimated as well?
Anyway, you two, Sturm, I've got something to do. Because we are giving away a free £25 bet, courtesy of the preview show here, in association with Betfred. This is what you have to do. All you have to do is comment anywhere. YouTube, wherever you're watching, comment and put win. And you could be in the position to win that free £25 bet. If you're watching at Facebook or YouTube, just comment in the box below and put win. And then, Shark, you can get a £25 free bet. Now, we've got some boosters for you. If you are watching at home and you fancy a boost for Royal Ascot right now, you can bang in Baid and Coribus, both to win, at 11 to 10. That's from Odds On. So if you just want to pair those up, Golden Power in the King's Stand. Shark says it's a good thing. Blake says it's useless. That means it probably is a good thing. 9 to 4. Baybridge and the Prince of Wales is 13 to 8. Trushan. Now, this is 9 to 2, but I have to say I'll be careful with him because the ground is not going to come right. I'd be very surprised if he ends up running Trushan because it's basically meant to be sunny for another 10 days or so. And Homeless Songs again in the Coronation is 11 to 8. I'm not sure myself that Homeless Songs will run either. But that's probably...
Again, that's it. Look, it's going to be ground dependent, isn't it? We know how much it can drive. I mean, the track, so the reports are it's in absolutely fantastic condition going forward. And let's hope they just get a little sprinkle, keep it fresh and good fast ground for everybody. That's what we want.
Yeah, it is. I've done a little bit of homework on Homeless Songs, though, but when we get to the Coronation,
yes,
we'll reveal that. Right, let's get on to the Prince of Wales' stakes. Bay Bridge has almost come from nowhere at 11-8. The Japanese ace Sharir was brilliant in Dubai at 3. The forgotten horse Mishrif at 5. The Cox Plate winner State of Rest surely not good enough at 6. Lord North at 7-1, beaten in Ireland last time, and 12-1 bar those. Kevin,
this is the race of the forgotten horse, isn't it? Because you can go down through that list and pick out and say, Mishrif, if he bounced back to his best, Lord North, if he was absolutely on a going day around a track that he absolutely loves. Mostadaf, I know that he got beat 5 lengths by Bay Bridge last time, but he was giving away £3, absolutely hammered. But prior to that, he'd been working his way up. You know, they thought he was a Champion Stakes horse last year, and then he was working his way back up the ladder. And look, he's had one. Was it an off day? Was Bay Bridge just too good? How do you assess it? That's the question.
It's a tricky one, but I'm going to ask Kevin here. State of Rest has been brilliantly placed, and that might have even had something to do with you. I don't know, probably not. But he's never going to be good enough for a Prince of Wales, is he?
Why not? You know, I don't think... I know some people will think that last time puts a ceiling on him, but I'd be cautious of doing it. Like, this was him in the Gannet there a few weeks ago against all the best horses in France, and he's beaten them all snugly at the line. I thought this was a lovely comeback. And look, he went to the tatters. Look, the thing about this horse is, Matt, he's absolute nails. He's rock hard. He's really, really tough. And if you get in a battle with him, you know, you're probably going to come out the wrong side of it. And, you know, for me, the Ascot Gold Cup last time, it just went a little bit wrong tactically. Ryan Moore gave High Definition what will be the ride of the season, I suspect, when we get to the end of the year, in front on High Definition. And Tom Marquand just took back a little bit out of the gates, and Alan Keir and State of Rest was following him and just ended up a little bit further back than ideal. He galloped all the way to the line, just failed to get up. Look, I think he's better than we saw there. A stiffer 10 furlongs is going to suit him. He might well be ridden a little bit closer to the pace. Look, this is a stronger race. Bay Bridge has a bit of X factor about him, could be a champion, but you know, I think State of Rest, we haven't necessarily seen the very best of him yet. You know, people will always tend to underplay the international form and not want to believe it, but I do really believe this is a tip-top horse, and I can't wait to see what he can do in against this sort of opposition on the biggest stage.
Well, good luck with that. I think we're going to need it.
We'll have a line and we can have a look or a chat about the Japanese runner, because by the Super Sire Deep Impact and managed to get the better of Yabir last time, I just feel that they are becoming such a dominant force, aren't they? You know, it doesn't matter what big festival that you turn up to, they're runners over a variety of distances, and definitely with stamina, Matt, are coming very much to the fore.
Yeah, it'd be easy to crab this form because, of course, Yabir has been beaten a few times since this race. He comes storming down the outside, but he hasn't had conditions that he needs. Power Driver, of course, is in there in the red cap. I thought Power Driver probably should have won this race, but he was unlucky back in around 3rd or 4th place in the line. However, once you start crabbing it, it's worth remembering that in 6th was Alan Kerr, and in 7th was Huckham. And Huckham, of course, was brilliant in the Coronation, and Alan Kerr was brilliant over in Ireland. So while there have been some disappointments, there's also horses in there who hold the form up, Shark. So I think he's definitely... Look, he's going to be hard to keep out of the 3, I think, Shark.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's a 120 coming in there. He's got a very likeable profile. I don't think that he's got a particular... You know, his winning, obviously, back home has been on fairly lively ground. So that's something that we've got to watch out for, because it would... I think he got beaten in a Group 2 when the ground came up soft. So, again, it's a little bit of a weather watch. But given his conditions, they're super, super tough. And I certainly loathe to underestimate him, Kevin.
Yeah, just watching him, and if you watched his videos as well, Jason, and just that day in Dubai, like he got a beautiful spin around. Like he followed the leader. You'll see there when they swung into the straight, it opened up for him. And when he got open country, like it was all very steady. Like, you know, it was steady, steady, steady. And that was over 1.5 miles. And just my thought is, while I wouldn't question his class or toughness, I just wonder will 1.25 miles just be a little bit tight for him in terms of a stamina test. I think he'd be much more at home at 1.5 miles. So, you know, that'd be my main concern for him, I think.
Shock, I want to ask you about this Bay Bridge.
Yes.
I'm not a believer at all.
Aren't you?
No.
OK.
2 runs ago, he was just winning a race, which would give him no chance in a race like this.
True.
And I think there's every reason to believe...
What did he win the London Gold Cup off? Something like that? Oh, 90. 90 rating,
yeah.
OK.
I think there's every reason to think Mostafa probably didn't run to form last time, and Adib is now 8. And while we all love him, he's had his issues over the years, so there's every chance he's not really at his complete peak. I think at around 6-4, something like that, he's a terrible favourite. I really do. I think he's a terrible favourite.
Do you?
Terrible.
Really? But, you know, you are looking at a Sir Michael Stoute improver. His patience, the way that he has handled him through his career. Look about him earlier on. He went to Yarmouth and Kempton and got beat on both occasions. He then comes out, manages to win at Newcastle, and then that's when the climb really starts as far as he is concerned. So I'm loath to underestimate a Sir Michael Stoute improver. We know how good and how much room that he leaves in each of these to keep stepping forward.
The Gosden couple, Kevin, I think are more interesting for me, really, just because... If you just, well, Mishriff and Lord North in some ways. I mean, with Mishriff, you just have to forget one run in Riyadh, and he would almost, for me, be favourite for this race. And Lord North, again, he wasn't brilliant last time, but he showed in Dubai the time before that he's still got loads of ability. I think Bay Bridge is making the market for a lot of these. A lot of these are too big, I think. Yeah,
no, I think you're on the right track there, Matt, to be honest. Look, Bay Bridge could be one of the ones... But at that price, you let him go and do it and wish him the best, because you look at that market we just had up, you know, the next 4 horses in the market behind him, you know, they're not just Group 1 winners, they're all multiple Group 1 winners. And Bay Bridge has never run in one. Look, the performance last time would suggest that he's going to be up to this level and could be a very good Group 1 horse. But you're taking a lot on trust there at that price. So I'd be like you, I'd be happy enough going against them with whichever one you like. Look, State of Rest is the one I like. I find it very difficult to see him out of the frame. And look, I think if things go right, he could well go and win. But I think you're on the right track and looking to take him on.
Thank you, Kevin. From you. That's very kind. This is the 2022 Royal Ascot preview show, and it's time, as with all good preview shows, to nail you down to a selection. I think it's obvious, Kev. Who's your boss?
Yeah, State of Rest will do for me.
OK, so you're sticking with the man who employs you. OK, thanks for that. Brilliant.
I'll go with the Japanese runner. I think that this is the best of their 2 that they bring over, and so I'll go with him, despite dropping in trip, and hope the ground stays quick.
And I'm all over Mishriff each way, provided he's declared. I'd wait till the 48-hour stage, but provided he's there.
It is the race, as you mentioned, of all, you know, you're going down through them with a Lord North, a Mishriff, and even further down, if we were to talk about a Mostadaf, you know, he's forgotten about it. He's out there at 12-1 off the back of 1 run. What would he be had he not been run last time? He'd have been closer towards the top. So it's that sort of race.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're going to move on, though, Shark. We're going to go to the Ascot Gold Cup, the centrepiece of the Royal Ascot meeting. And ground is so important here. And I've got to tell you right now, the forecast is not good for Trushan. It's not good for Scope. And it's not good for Princess Zoe, particularly, although she has proven she's pretty versatile. But Trushan and Scope, never going to get the ground they want. Which means that Kyprios and Stradivarius, the old boy, are bang in the mix here for me. Kev, let's go straight to you. Ground is really important in every race, but particularly for the Gold Cup, because we have such knowledge of what these horses want, and we've got a fairly clear forecast at the moment of sunny 21 degrees conditions for a week or so.
Yeah, for sure, Matt. But look, it's the weather forecast. It's a week away. Was it 2 of the last 3 or 4 years at Ascot? We've ended up with horrendous showers that have completely changed things late in the day. So I wouldn't like to rule it out completely. But like you say, it is what it is at the minute. And it's not looking great for Connections of Trushan, which would be a great pity because, look, I think he is the best stayer around. I think we found out last season that he is better than Stradivarius on his day. So look, he'd be real one to miss if he didn't show up. But look, we'll wait and see what happens with the weather. If he turns up and his connections deem the ground to be safe enough for him to compete, he's going to take an awful lot of beating. He proved his stamina for 2.5 last season, and he's just a really, really good stayer. Stradivarius been the most wonderful horse for many, many years now. He's a bit like Muhammad Ali, kind of at the back end. He can't dance like he used to. He doesn't have the speed and flair, but guts and determination, is still carrying this horse a long way. It was fantastic to see him make a winning comeback at York. There's still the fire is still burning plenty bright. Whether he's quite as good as he was, I don't know, but he's still good enough to go and compete. And if he gets his fast ground, the one thing that Stradivarius has always had, Matt, is a turn of foot, which makes him a really tricky horse to beat in this division. So we'll wait and see. Like you say, tough race to talk about right now, but I would definitely mention Kyprios. He's the emerging one in the division, 4-year-old. He went to the Royal Meeting last season and scuttled out under the stalls in the Queen's Vase and didn't get to run. But his 2 runs this season have been excellent. Beat 2 rock-solid 100 horses by an awful long way at Leopardstown last time. Look, big step up in trip, but he's bred to get it. Full brother to Falcon 8 and Search for a Song. I love the way he goes about it, and he's an exciting stayer coming in amongst these established stars.
And the horse, for me, that everybody has forgotten about, and I don't think he's completely ground-dependent at all, is Tashcan for Brian Ellison. Now, he, for me, was the first one beaten on Stradivarius's return at York. He was flat to the board some way down, and he stayed on. It was always just happening too quick for him, and he dug in and kept trying all the way down. Now, he was definitely fat for his return run at Ascot, much better, and he ran much better at York. And this is his first time up into the unknown of 2.5 miles. And I think that is going to be key with him. He's not with one of your big fashionable trainers, if you like, but a man who doesn't matter if it's 5 furlongs or 4 miles and can get one peaking at the right time. He's completely under the radar. He's not ground dependent. We could even have 2 that are towards the top of the market, not running because of ground conditions, and then all of a sudden he's going to capitulate from a price perspective.
Yeah. What about Kyprios, Kev? We don't know much about Kyprios, do we, really? I mean, only ran in a novice 2 runs ago, and suddenly he's just about favourite for the Ascot Gold Cup.
Yeah, well, like he's always looked a nice horse, Matt, that just wanted a trip. I remember I was quite keen on him for Royal Ascot last year for the Queen's Vase, and like I say, he didn't get to run. He got under the stalls. The thought was that the step up and trip and emphasis on stamina would really suit him. So look, as they've managed to draw out his stamina this season, he's really come forward very quickly. And look, I think an even longer trip is probably going to suit him. Ground, I wouldn't be too fussed, whichever way it comes up for him, really. I suspect he'll be versatile. And yeah, he's exciting. I know Ryan really likes him. And yeah, I think he can be a factor in this division for a good while yet.
And Sharp, we go through these races, and hardly anyone talks about Stradivarius really, because they almost don't believe he can do it again at the age of 8. But if the ground is good to firm or on the fast side...
He was unlucky last year.
Yeah, well,
made no mistake about it.
Wasn't he? He had a horrible run. I mean, he should have been a good second. He was kind of the west...
The grey area, of course. The grey area.
No talk about grey. But Stradivarius, I mean, if most of his big rivals want it soft, and they're not going to get that, whatever Kevin says about the forecast, there's no suggestion that it's going to lash down in the next week.
No.
Surely Stradivarius, I think he could go off favourite again.
Yeah. That's a strong possibility, and he has that amazing change of gear. We always talk, well, we've just had the Derby. What did the Derby winner possess over the end of a 1.5 mile contest? He had a wonderful change of gear, didn't he? It's an incredibly potent weapon, and when you're going up over 2.5 miles and you have a horse who's got that change of gear, like a Stradivarius, he can always be relied upon to land a big punch. So, yeah, I know where you're coming from. But Tashcan is definitely the one. run at 33s that is just completely forgotten about in the market.
You like Tashkent, don't you?
He was up the tail of Stradivarius at York. Just watch it back again. You need to watch it, see that he was flat out before they rounded for home. Race not run to suit. This will suit him.
Outside of Stradivarius, Kevin, the biggest cheer would be for Princess Zoe, surely, for Tony Mullins. Everyone, he'll be watching absolutely right now. We all love Tony Mullins, because he'll be on YouTube right now watching this saying, why haven't you spoken about Princess Zoe yet? And Princess Zoe was really tough at Ascot the other day. Well, not the other day, but on April the 27th at Ascot. And although she obviously is better in the mud, she does have form on good to firm.
Look, absolutely. And look, I suppose, first and foremost, you look back at her run in this race last year. You know, she ran a smashing race to finish second to Subjectivist on what was quick ground. And look, I'd say she's had a better preparation leading into the race this season. You know, she'd been quite disappointing in her 2 prep runs prior to Ascot last season, whereas she's coming into it this year off the back of this win here at Ascot. You know, so she's arguably in better shape than she was this time last year. And she ran a hell of a race in the Gold Cup last time round. So I wouldn't like to be ruling her out now. And while rain would help, her run in the race last season showed that she doesn't need it with an ease in it.
OK, selection time, though. I don't think anyone needs to guess who you're going with, Sharky.
Yeah, look, it would be Trushan if the ground happened to fall right for him. I think that he's the best in the division by some way, given his conditions. But if there's no rain, Tashkent each way. OK, and Kevin Blake of Irish nature?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kyprios. We won't worry too much about the weather forecast for him. Whichever way it comes up, I think he's going to run a big race. Do
we need to ask you any selections in future, or do we just go on the basis it will be anyone who's got O'Brien?
What? Stop being nasty. What do you fancy?
I'm going to go for the old boy Stradivarius again.
Stradivarius?
I just think the ground will be in his favour. I thought Mojo Star was vaguely interesting if he turned up. But, yeah,
Stradivarius for you?
Yeah. What do you want to say to that?
Kyprios for Ireland. Why? What's wrong with that? He fancies Aiden's. He's coming over with a strong bunch, aren't they?
Desperate to do the planning for Aiden, isn't he? He's desperate. Desperate, that's what he wants. He's ended up with Joseph and he really wants to do Ballydor. Right.
Have enough on my plate with Joseph, don't worry about that.
Ultimate Guide time. So, the At the Races Ultimate Guide to Royal Ascot is online. All the W's at atheraces.com/Ascot. In association with Betfred, you get your tips, your odds, your expert insight, and all the stats. You know the place to go for the best Royal Ascot news. All the W's at atheraces.com/Ascot. Let's go to the big 3-year-old sprint. It is the Commonwealth Cup. Perfect Power. The horse that seemingly split Fahy and Hannigan is there at the top at 4-1. El Caballo just keeps on winning at 6. Go Bears Go was very unlucky at Haydock, nearly stumbled out the box. Well, did stumble. Eraz, they've been teaching him race by race at 10. Tenebrism, shocking in the Guineas at 10. And Twilight Jet at 12 with Slipstream and 14's Bar. This time I will pick Kevin Blake. Kevin, let's go straight to you. Do we go straight to Tenebrism for the winner here? Or is there something else?
No, I'd rather pick one that's going to run in the race, Matt. I think Tenebrism's going to go for the Coronation, so I definitely wouldn't be picking her for the Commonwealth Cup. I'm going to go for Twilight Jet, who will run in the race for Michael O'Callaghan. And I think he's a big price, Matt. Like, this horse is an iron horse. Like, he ran. Michael just kept running him last year, and I'm saying to myself, Jesus, he's given this fella some very vigorous campaigning, and he just kept getting better and better. Like, he ran 11 times as a 2-year-old, and like, he just kept getting better. And I suppose probably his best run came when he won the Cornwallis, but prior to that, he'd finished right up the tail of Perfect Power in the Middle Park. He was just the most fabulous horse all season. And sure, look, when you have a campaign that vigorous as a 2-year-old, you wonder what they'll do at 3. And he's only come out and looked better than ever, winning a Nace on his return. And that was off the back of an interrupted prep. You know, Michael said he'd had a little hold up with him in the spring that slowed down getting him out. So if he in any way needed that run, which is what Michael was suggesting, like, He's going to be a big player here, Matt, because he was so impressive. He beat a couple of race-fit rivals there, notably New York City, and beat them all ends up by multiple lengths in great style. I think a stiff 6 at Ascot is going to be ideal for him. And look, I suspect he might come on from that run. He's a double-figure price. I'm pretty keen on him, Matt. He'd be one of my best ones for the week, I think.
OK, so Twilight Jet for Kevin.
He says Tenebrism won't run. Who do you fancy in the race, Shark?
I'm not going to go Tenebrism, that is for sure. I did like the noise you made there. It was sort of took me back to my school days, that was, or whatever, just when you had the initial put down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The
thing is, he sounds so knowledgeable. Look, he could be completely wrong, but he sounds as if he really knows what he's talking about.
Let's go down through a few of these and you can give me a snapshot of what you think. Perfect Power, coming back down in distance. He was the dominant juvenile. Maybe class just got him through with the 7 furlongs win on his return. That's a strong possibility.
Yeah.
OK, so then we've got El Caballo. He just keeps on winning, doesn't he? Carl Burke has long said that this is an absolute rocket and he just keeps on producing all the time. Go Bears Go. Would he have won, do you think? Here's El Caballo first. Let's have a look at him winning on the all-weather. I think on this occasion, in the sprint final, he did incredibly well to win, considering that he didn't have an ideal run through, if you like. Admittedly, the seconds come out and not produced since. But we do have... What's the horse?
You'll watch Tiber Flow down the near side, Jason.
Yeah, this side, near side.
Finishing second, yeah.
Yeah,
Imperial Fighter.
He absolutely flies home on this side, and he's probably was a little bit unlucky on that occasion.
Oh, Flaming Rib.
Yeah.
Flaming Rib. Was that Flaming Rib?
No, Tiber Flow.
Oh, Tiber
Flow.
Sorry, I got confused. I've just... Obviously, this is good. No, the reason I've been slightly gone.
He's rattled now, Jace. He's rattled
because I so wanted to stitch Blake up and
you can't.
Well, so I've texted Aidan.
You'll have to get up earlier in the morning for that.
He's texted Aidan. No, here we go.
I've messaged Aidan. Commonwealth or Coronation, please. Aidan has responded within 5 seconds. What do you think he said, Shot?
Coronation.
What do you think he said, Kev?
I know what he said.
Yeah, it is the old Coronation.
Is it? Why could he not just let it go? Why could he just not let it go?
Because can you imagine the joy, Shark, if he'd said, "Oh, we've just changed our minds, Commonwealth, but don't tell Blake." Oh, you see, but all the O'Briens are mixing it with him, aren't they? Right, anyway, Go Bears Go. I really fancied him at Haydock against El Caballo. Rossaran was in absolute bits after the race, said he stumbled out the stalls. I don't think it was quite... He said he lost 6 lengths. 1 or 2 other jockeys heard that and took the mickey out of him.
Right.
Because he probably didn't lose 6 lengths. But this was a good performance.
Yeah,
I think he's got a great each-way
He
chance.
Controlled the race on this occasion. One of my each-way shouts in here, Wings of War, was carrying the penalty on this occasion for his Mill Reef success.
Each way you went in a 4-runner race?
No. The each way for this.
OK. I said this was my each-way shout.
Kevin was right. You were wrong. OK? Just let it be and move on. And he came out and ran an absolute stormer up at Haydock. Back off levels. It was a big run from him, and this has been his long-term aim. But Go Bears, yeah, look, he you know when they wheel spin with all 4, it wasn't just the front end or anything. He went real down, nearly on the undercarriage, got back up, and so he was an unlucky loser at Haydock.
I'm going with Erez.
Yeah.
He's my cliff horse. He's a cliff horse for me. Yeah. I just can't get out of my mind when he won at Ascot last year, and I just thought I'd seen an absolute machine. And what Angus Gold said after his defeat, when he should have won at Newbury and he got beat, he said after that each run this season they've tried to teach him how to race because he just wasn't racing properly. And it's all been a master plan, and it's going to end up in Commonwealth.
And I can tell you now, from his return run there to when he finished second at Newbury, his coat looked so much better. But he still didn't look anywhere near cherry ripe. There was no dapple on him or anything. He wasn't shining like a seal, if we like to see them in the sunshine. So still a little bit of winter coat there. He's definitely improving at the right time.
Yeah, he is a beautiful
and I'll tell you, Matt, it's an interesting shout, Matt, because if Dermot throws up that race again briefly, that we saw at Ascot just there with Araz. Like if you look at that race coming down to the furlong and a half pole, like Araz is going to win and he's going to win easy.
Yeah.
Like he's travelling really well, and all of a sudden we'll see where he ends up. He's beaten I think 3.5 lengths or something like that. He's gone from, he's surely going to win, he's going to bolt up, and he just hasn't found inside the final furlong. And I think they really learned from this. And when we were watching it together at Newbury, Jason, they just set out to ride him completely differently. They dropped him in last, and they clearly said, right, whatever you do today, you're going to finish the race. And they rode him much more quietly, and he's absolutely flown home and just failed by a short head to catch Tiger Flow, who we saw earlier. And look, we know at Ascot, straight track, riding them that way can be seen in a really good light. So I think it's a fair shout, Matt. I'm not going to knock you for that Araz shout. I think he'll be arriving late and fast, and he might well get involved in the finish.
I've always said you're an excellent presenter, Kev. Welcome to the show. This is the 2022 Royal Ascot Preview Show in association with Betfred. Perfect Power at 4, El Caballo at 6, Go Bears Go at 8, Araz at 10, with Tenebrism who's not going to run, and 12's Bar. Let's go to the experts.
Araz is going to be the selection here, Matthew, but I think at an each-way price, I will definitely have a couple of pound on Wings of War, and probably the forgotten horse in the lineup, so it's going to be a 3-gun, scattergun approach from me, Kevin, here. Big prices, Wings of War, Lusail. Lusail, if he does turn up, we'll see where he goes.
Do you think Kev's going to go with an Irish horse? Let's find out.
But possibly not Tenebrism.
No, she's going in the Coronation.
Yeah, try like Jeff will do me, to engage the turbo and run them all down late.
OK, good luck with that. I'll be an Araz man as well, but I expect Go Bears Go to be bang there. We're going to go to one of the races of the meeting. If they all turn up, it will be an absolute corker. It is the Group 1 Coronation, where the girls come out. And, wow, we've got some girls here. The Irish 1,000 Guineas winner, Homeless Songs. The champion juvenile filly in Spiral, yet to be seen this season. The Newmarket 1,000 Guineas winner, Cachet. Obviously, Tuesday will not be running, but she did win the Oaks. Prosperous Voyage, who's run very well against the best at 8s. Mangustine at 8-1. And Grand Dame, who has shown plenty of ability herself at 10, with Spenderella at 10 as well. Let's go to you, Sharky. The Clash of the Guineas winners.
Yes.
But I'm led to believe that Homeless Songs will not run if there's firm in the going description.
No.
And on the forecast, I can't see how they can't be firm in the description.
Yeah, it's going to be on the lively side. That's what we're led to believe. If you watched her, the way that she gallops, you can see it on that picture there as well. She's got quite a wide splayed action in front, which would just tell you that all the mechanics of when she is galloping, that the soft ground is going to suit her and help anything that is a little bit wide and splayed in front. There's no doubting that is the knock-your-eye-out performance of the season by some way in the 1,000. It was absolutely spectacular. And obviously the form already been franked. But again, we are completely guessing to the ground. How good is it that we've got in Spiral back? How good is it that they've had to be, they've been patient, they've been biding their time, and that is absolute key, isn't it? If they're not right, you can't go. I mean, we all thought the 1,000 was over. Come on,
we have one positive bulletin about Inspiral, though. One. We haven't had one, have we? Not all season. We've not had one report that said she's absolutely flying at home. It's always, we think she'll get there. But we've not had anything that could blow you away, Shark, and say she's ready.
And all prior to, her not turning up at Newmarket, all the 2-year-old form worked out, didn't it? We were saying with Cachet winning that, wow, how much was she in front of that division? But obviously with the Irish superstar now on the horizon, that makes you sit up and take notice. But the ground will be key. This filly was working particularly well. We had that one report. It was a home and hosed in the 1,000 Guineas. We had that one report when we were all at Sandown working, where Chris Richardson said things just didn't go as planned one of these work mornings, and then the next thing she was out. and she wasn't ready, and you've had the problems. But sometimes you've got to be patient. You have to be patient up at the top level, and I think that John has done a great job to get her back. Even, you know, setting her off here tells you what they're expecting.
Are you a patient man, Kevin?
Sometimes. Not with people.
No, but are you really? Are you genuinely?
I'm a lot more patient with horses than I am with people, man.
Wow, that's such a loaded answer. OK, so we've seen that there are terrific British runners in here. What do you fancy?
Look, you're dead right to focus on Inspiral, because she is so interesting here. But, you know, it's a big ask after, you know, seemingly, you know, a setback, maybe being slow to come to hand. It's a big ask to come into a proper Group 1 like this and go and win it, for all that she did look like an absolute standout rocket last season. Like, look at her form. She was hammering, you know, Prosperous Voyage and Cachet, who ended up, you know, running so well in the Guineas. And look, it's tough. It's tough. Homeless Songs look like an absolute rocket ship in the Irish Guineas, but that report that you pass on, Matt, is concerning. But you know, it makes this an attractive betting race in many ways. If the even money anti-post fav is a serious doubt to turn up, that means there's lots of value elsewhere in the anti-post market, and you could be taking prices that look extremely attractive this time next week. I don't have a very strong view, but I do find myself drawn to Discoveries, because I did fancy her for the Newmarket 1000 Guineas. There wasn't great chat about her beforehand. Her last piece of work had seemingly been quite disappointing. You know, you hope you leave that behind them on the track. And she ran okay, but just okay. She was beaten 5 lengths. But based on her 2-year-old form, I do want to forgive her. You know, she's a full sister to Alpha Centauri, and all that family, all her siblings, have took a notable step up from their 2-year-old form to 3-year-olds, and I hope there's more improvement in her. And she won a Group 1 despite greenness last season. I'm hoping she's better than she showed in the 1000 Guineas, and I'd be inclined to take a chance on her. But I would like to hear a positive report, because we haven't heard much about her in the last week or two. So just keep the ear to the ground on that one. But she's an interesting filly if she turns up.
And the other John Gosden runner in there, Grand Dame, who made her debut there at Ascot.
Looked good.
And she looked real good. She went to York. Remember, she had a problem saddling up and lost a shoe, and there was all sorts of, you know, reports, and she sort of knocked herself a little bit, I think, just around her mouth area. Anyway, she came through as if she was going to win. Not so much pulling the cart, but she was going to, if she let down properly, she was going to go and get on with it. Anyway, she hung quite badly in the closing stages and never seemed to really go through with her effort. The fact that she's sitting in there around about 10-1 would tell you that she's obviously got a huge amount of natural ability were she to turn up. And Gosden and Dettori is obviously going to be within Spiral, but just could be one flying under the radar at an each-way sort of price.
Yeah.
We better mention your filly, Matt.
My filly is
Tenebrism.
Tenebrism, yeah.
Let's just talk about the horses that have got a chance. Let's just have a look at the French Guineas, can we?
Yes, we can.
Because Buffy and James Doyle, having started the season wondering whether Cachet would stay a mile, I think after this race they were thinking they actually could have gone faster rather than slower. Certainly James Doyle said to me the other day that he, you know, this is all benefit of hindsight stuff, it's not any criticism, but with the benefit of hindsight, he could have even gone stronger on Cachet. I mean, she really did rally, and she's going to, with all her experience, she's going to love nipping round the bends at Ascot.
She's super tough, you know, I wasn't a believer at all in her ability to stay the mile, and she's completely put me back in my box as far as she is concerned. I think the early stages there, she was just forced to go a little bit quick from the gates to gain her position that may well have just told on her in the closing stages. But she's a star for all concerned, isn't she? And when you think Mangustine managing to get the job done, Gerald Mosse on board at the age of, what is it now, 56 or something?
107.
And just absolutely riding out of his skin. How old? 92.
Your white gloves.
The white gloves, we love them.
Snooker gloves. Yeah. I think you could take a line on this, though. You could gamble that Homeless Songs doesn't run and back in Spiral at 11-4, because she's so much better than this lot on 2-year-old form, isn't she? She was in a league of her own.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Fascinating when Kevin starts talking about discoveries, because she was all the talk prior to, I think, maybe a week before leading into the Guineas, when everybody switches on to the Aidan O'Brien bandwagon, because she'd been going through the gears very, very nicely as a juvenile, and we can't sort of rule her out on one particular run this year. I'm
going to get selections now, team.
It's going to be in spiral for me. I'm going to go, and let's hope we start getting some positive vibes between now and next week.
Do you know what in spiral means?
Go on.
It's like stars bombing around. So, and I think she will be the star. I'm with you there. Why are you grinning, Blakey? When you, this
is my resting face when I'm on with you, Matt.
To be fair, my mum loves you. She loves you because you always look happy. She says, Kevin, always nice, such a nice boy. Always looks happy.
Most of the time.
Yeah. She doesn't have to work with you, mind. What do you select here? Discoveries, yeah?
Discoveries will do for me, Matt, yeah.
Jessica Harrington, what a great trainer she is. We're going to move on to the Platinum Jubilee. Very tough, I think, the Platinum Jubilee, but our team is here to sort it out for us on the 2022 Royal Ascot Preview Show in association, you never guess it, with Betfred. Now, Home Affairs 7-2, Nature Strip. Could he double up under the car? Because the great lady rider from Down Under will be on Nature Strip if this horse runs in the Platinum Jubilee. Capanel at 6-1. Capanelli Rome. Golden Powell.
Golden Powell would have already won earlier on in the week, and they'd be saying, well, can he last out now? Can he keep going again?
Yeah, well, Blakey will be saying no. Let's start with you, Blakey. I think this is one of the tougher races, which is why a preview show like this is great, to have informed opinions like yours.
Well, look, it's the international form again, Matt, isn't it? We're trying to weigh it up, and we have a really interesting horse here in Home Affairs, who's a 3-year-old down in Oz, a 4-year-old up here, and look, we have a really interesting piece of form. We have the Lightning Stakes here because we have 2 of these Aussies that are coming over. But what you need to know when you're looking at this finish, Matt, is Nature Strip had a horrendous start. He missed the kick a little bit. He got bumped. He got squeezed back. And he had to do a lot of running to get to where he is now. And he still nearly ran down Home Affairs. I think this run reflects really well on Nature Strip. Look, they're completely different profiles. Nature Strip has been around the block 20 times. He's an old boy in comparison to Home Affairs, who has the scope to improve again. But on this, you know, you'd be happy enough back at Nature Strip in a rematch. But look, Home Affairs has been doing his thing. He's very fast. He stays as well. He's shown his stamina for 6 furlongs on testing ground by Aussie standards. So I don't think the 6 furlongs is going to be an issue for him. But again, it's just difficult to weigh this form up, Matt. And he's priced quite conservatively based on his reputation. And I'm going to take a bit of a flyer here, because if you like the Aussie form, I'd encourage you to have a look at Artorias. He's another Aussie 3-year-old that's a 4-year-old up here, and he has bits and pieces of form tying in with Home Affairs. And the angle I'm looking at is that this stiff 6 furlongs might just bring him a bit closer to Home Affairs. And they ran him over as far as a mile. He finished up the tail of Animo there in the Caulfield Guineas, who Animo is a super horse. He ended up finishing second in the Cox Plate. So this horse stays well for an Aussie, and I think a stiff 6 furlongs is going to suit him well. They're not coming over for the fresh air and Pims, I don't think, the Freedmans. And I just think he's a much bigger price than Home Affairs, and I could see him maybe outrunning it.
OK. Sharky?
Well, I mean, when you shy away from the few at the top, the horse who we haven't seen much of so far this year, and he was sort of burst onto the scene, really, didn't he? He sort of settled into that sprinting division, if you like, is Emirati Anna for Kevin Ryan and the team. He's got a massive amount of natural ability. He absolutely trounced some really good horses at Haydock last year. He ran a blinder at York. He's got very good form behind Golden Powell over the minimum, which was always going to be too sharp for him. And I just cannot believe that he is 33-1. You know, against some of these, even, you know, on a... Can he just get it? I'm not expecting him to just get a slice of it. He can win it at that price as well. You know, he's talented enough to give these all a run. major disappointment so far this term. The run over in Maidan, or 2 runs in Maidan. 15th of 16. 15th of 16. He's got to be better than that.
Yeah. I thought the interesting one might be Sacred if she goes. I have messaged William Haggis. If he does reply by the end of the show, we will let you know. But I've just asked him if Sacred is due to run in this. But she's a pretty classy filly on a going day. And I just wondered if this might be... There could be a little bit of an upset here. She stays a bit further as well. But it's a tricky race. You've got the American against the Australia, of course, Campanelli for Wes Ward towards the top shot.
And she managed to beat Sacred, didn't she, many moons ago, up this particular strip. Again, with her, they've tried riding her a variety of different ways, haven't they? And I think that she's probably better just sort of held on to. This is her when she gets the verdict over Dragon Symbol, who may well do the double. He may well start off in the King's Stand at the start of the week and then end up backing up here over 6 furlongs later on in the week. So he's another one who's not to be underestimated, considering he was fatter than myself and you on Boxing Day after Christmas and everything else, chappers. Yeah, he started the year incredibly fat. Dragon Symbol.
No way he could be.
He was that big. He was that big, I'm telling you. Way. And he ran a cracker at Haydock the other day.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, Dragon Symbol's in here at 20 to 1. And I know he was horrible first time out, but he wasn't quite so bad at Haydock. If he didn't look as though he had that much.
That's exactly what I just said to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly what I just said to you.
I was thinking
but that's fine. But you weren't. You were just nodding and smiling and looking at your screen and waiting for William Haggis to get back to you.
Haggis.
Yes, and Aidan's got back as well. And yes.
Look, but at least I'm bringing up-to-date news to the show.
Shut up. Kevin, what do you like here?
Very rude.
I'm going to go with the Aussie. I'm going to go with Artorias. But look, Dragon Symbol is a bit interesting. Look, people, I suppose it hasn't got talked about much, but he did change trainer over the winter, and it might just have taken Roger a little while to kind of get to grips with him and get to know him, and maybe he came back to him a bit heavy, and it's just taken him those couple of runs to strip him down, because like if he gets back to his form for midsummer last season, like you're dead right, he's banging amongst them. Like he turned up at every dance in Group 1 company last season and ran very well most of the time. So you'd be brave enough to rule him out, I think.
Presumably with the ground likely to be on the far side, alcohol-free is more likely to go for a longer race rather than this.
I thought alcohol-free...
I think they mentioned this race today, I think.
Duke of Cambridge, possibly?
But if it was heavy, it might go in this, I think.
OK.
But if...
You said a second ago that there's absolutely no chance of a single drop of rain next week,
There isn't, no chance.
Yeah. OK.
Yeah, we're sticking
so
by
what?
that, Kevin.
So what? Just in case it does come up heavy, she might go here.
Yeah. Is that
what you... No, that's what you're saying.
No, it's not.
That's what you
No, it's
just
not.
said.
No, it's not. Look, if you carry on like this, we're going to record this whole section again.
That's what you just said.
If you're watching out there, this isn't really happening. You're in another stratosphere.
What did William say?
He's not responded.
Oh, OK.
To be fair, he's had quite a bit going on. Right! Win! Put it in the box anywhere. Basically on YouTube, Facebook. A lot of people are doing it on Twitter. I'm not sure whether that's going to count. But the powers that be could decide for that themselves. This is courtesy of our preview show and microsite sponsors who are, Shark?
Betfred.
Yes, they are. You probably didn't know that. Simply comment WIN wherever you're watching to be in with a chance. £25 free bet. Win. And don't forget about the price booster. Thank you very much to our sponsors of the show, Jason, who are?
Betfred.
Yes, they still are. They're still here with us. And the price boosts include Baid and Caribus at 11 to 10. That's been boosted from 4 to 5. Golden Pal boosted to over 2 from 15 to 8. Baybridge boosted to 13 to 8 from 11 to 8. Trushan boosted to 4.5 from 3. And Homeless Songs boosted. Well done, Shark. 11 to 8 from 5 to 4. It's not the biggest,
and I didn't even look.
Boost ever,
it was a boost.
It is a boost, like a minor boost. You know, like a popping exhaust kind of boost. It's gone a little bit, but not completely crazy. Producer's getting worried. He said, let's talk 2-year-olds, which basically is code in producer language for let's move on, lads. We'll go to the Coventry Stakes. And the Coventry Stakes, of course, is Group 2, the youngsters. Noble Star at 11-4, Blackbeard at 3-1, Persian Force at 7-2, the Little Big Bear at 7-1. It's 9-1 bar. A man who always has his beady eye on these youngsters is Kevin Blake.
Proper race, this one, man. Like there's some proper promising horses in here. And if you... Well, I'll start with Persian Force because he's the one I like. Won the Brocklesby. Sometimes there can be a bit of snobbery about a Brocklesby winner. You know, there's an assumption there that they're just fast, precocious. That's their big day. But he was electric this day at Doncaster. Really was. The market expected him, and he delivered. And look, the visual style was very much there. Watch him inside the final furlong here, but he was very big on the clock. This singled him out as like a really promising horse. And look, if you like trainer talk, you'd love what Richard Hannon says about this fella. You know, he's comparing him to Canford Cliffs. It is big talk about him. But as much as I liked him at Doncaster, he was just as good at Newbury, beating another horse I like in Holguin, who I think is a very promising 2-year-old himself, and Persian Force kicked him out of the way with disdain. I think this is a real good 2-year-old, Matt, and while it looks a proper Coventry, I think Persian Force is going to be right bang there in the finish.
And the thing with him, Kevin, I was lucky enough to see him real close up when he won at Doncaster, and you know one who, look, I'm not saying that he's not going to be a superstar next year or whatever, but you look at him, he was quite set. He was very professional the way he went about his business. He was just the absolute juvenile model, if you like, that you want as and I know we're getting to the middle-ish part of the season and you're thinking, you know, so you get some of those bigger types, those bigger, more powerful-looking individuals who come out. But the change of gear that he has got, that will just make him incredibly tough to beat. It's going to take something special to beat him anyway, put it that way. But we do have great opposition. We do have great opposition.
Age of Kings was any good, Kev?
Oh yeah, look, he's been impressive too. Like he probably should have won on debut. He was a little bit. Look, he was very green that day. Now he was green. He was flashing his tail. Like he looked very inexperienced. But he went up to the Curragh and showed like a lot of benefit from that, and jumped out, made the running look much more straightforward, and was very strong inside the final furlong. But it's a good point you make, Jace, because like in the Coventry, like you'll often get this clash. You'll get the clash between like highly professional 2-year-olds that are almost a finished article by the time Royal Ascot comes, and they'll often meet horses from Ballydoyle, from Godolphin, like who will be, you know, Guineas horses, you know, next spring. And this is very much a stepping stone, and sometimes they can get caught out for a lack of professionalism at this early stage. And sure, look, Age of Kings is bred to be a Guineas horse. You know, he's by Kingman out of a good filly of Jim Bulger's called Turned Rocks. You know, you've Noble Style, who's probably in the same boat, you know, another son of Kingman. You know, so that's kind of the balance you're trying to find. You know, sometimes a horse with that longer term profile will have enough brilliance to go and win a Coventry, but they can often be hard pushed to get the better of the likes of Persian Force, who's ready to rumble now and show you exactly what he can do.
Yeah, horses, and you mentioned them, you know, yeah, Nando Parado, the wow signal, something that was just absolutely rocket ready, and he definitely fits into that category.
Noble Star was impressive at Ascot.
He was
first time. By Kingman, who of course loved Ascot.
By Kingman, took a bigger, rangier type of horse, if you like, and took a little while to get on top. Just watch him coming through here to beat Wallbank, isn't it, who came out and won by 7 lengths at York after this. Does take a little while to get going, and this is, I suppose, a perfect example of what we're talking about, Kevin. You know, he takes ages to get going, just got his tail stuck out a little bit there as he's galloping. Don't know if he is feeling something or was just hanging the latch a little bit, and yeah, he's well on top of the finish, and he's probably going to be suited by an extra furlong, so there are a few things in his favour, but whether he's just got that natural snap and ability to go and, you know, we're talking about Caribus over the mile being the perfect fit. Well, Persian Force is the perfect fit in here, isn't he? Because of that ability to jump, travel, Rossabiella just quickly, sharp out, gone. He's like the power band on a motorcycle.
And Kevin, looking at the other sort of juvenile races at the meeting, I think Katie Content's interesting in them. Queen Mary, she absolutely bolted up at Windsor the other day after winning at Salisbury first time. But I guess the one juvenile that everyone's going to be talking about comes in the Chesham with with Alfred Munnings. I mean, he's seemingly won every classic next season already, and he's the greatest horse we've ever seen, isn't he?
Yeah, look, he was highly impressive that day. He really, really was. Look, he's got all the pedigree you'd expect, and he looked a real nice horse. You know, he's got that way of going. You know, he lowers himself when he gallops, and you'd love him. You'd love him, and it's no surprise that he's a short price for the Chesham. You know, after that, you know, he's by Dubawi, half the Snowfall. Like, and he ticks all the boxes. But there is another one there, Matt, that could potentially run for Aidan in the same race. Augustin Roden is his name. He finished second first time out at the Curragh. I probably butchered the pronunciation of his name there, but he was horrifically unlucky, really. Ryan, where he was drawn, he followed the leader on the rail, and when the race hotted up, it just didn't open up for him. It half opened up for him. He went for the gap. It closed again. He had to wheel around him, and he's flown home in the final furlong. And talking about pedigrees, he's by Deep Impact, the first foal out of Rhododendron. You know, and that was a big performance. He couldn't have done any more in defeat than he did. So if he turned up, I think he'd be interesting as well. But look, I think Aidan holds a very strong hand. It'll be fascinating to see the entries when they come out and the declarations, of course. But I'll briefly whisk back, Matt, because you caught my ear there, because I'm quite keen on that Katie content as well. For the Queen Mary, Clive Cox. I loved her performance last time. She's only a little button of a thing. She's small. Brilliant. I love this run. You know, she's made the running. And what I point to here, Matt, is just how she showed inexperience. This was her second run, and you'll see she just starts to edge off the rail. And, you know, it probably only cost a little bit of ground, maybe a little bit of momentum, but it certainly didn't help her. And she nearly broke the clock this day, Matt. This is one of the fastest times we've seen a 2-year-old run at Windsor for a long time. And like I say, she's small. She's a half-sister to El Caballo, who we mentioned earlier. Apparently all the family is small. I read an article about them there recently, so don't be put off by her size. I like to say it, Matt, as Fonzie O'Brien, Vincent O'Brien's brother, used to say, if size had anything to do with speed, a cow would outrun a rabbit. So don't let Katie Content's size put you off. I think she's very fast.
That's a great line. I've heard Kevin come out with that one before, but it is a great line. I love that.
Yeah,
if
well,
size had anything to do with it, a cow would outrun a rabbit. Do you like that, Matt?
I often wheel it out at the sales, Jason, when I have a little small yearling there to sell. It doesn't always work, unfortunately. But this is typical for that family, and El Caballo is advertising it in no uncertain terms. And I could just see her jump out now. We'll be together on that one, Matt. Katie Content in the Queen Mary.
Now,
good judge.
At York, Queen Ollie was a nice winner. She's completely flown under the radar. She's a possibility for the Albany on the Friday. David Loughnane goes there, and he said that he only had a couple of runners there recently, but he's got, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 that are going to go this year that will be up in the top handful in the betting. And, yeah, you can pick holes in the form and say that she, the second's got beat, the third's got beat, and so on since. However, she was always going to win. She was always going to win. The second did come out, was punted off the boards and got beat, but she was thoroughly determined. Now, he's got 2 entries in there. I think his other filly, who he has, will probably run in the Queen Mary, and she could be the one in the Albany to go. So Queen Ollie, not to be underestimated. And there was a big word for her at Windsor just the other night when I was there.
And the Antarctic is in both the Windsor Castle and the Norfolk, favourite for both races. Kev, I mean, you are the man who knows, so which one's it going for?
Well, I don't know in this case, Matt, but I think the Norfolk might be favoured. Look, he's a horse with a big profile because, look, he's a full brother to Batash. He cost, I think, $1 million plus as a yearling. So he has, and he's trained by Aidan. He has that big profile. And, like, he wouldn't have blown everyone away now. He's 2 from 2, but it was hard enough work both days. But to me, like, he gives the impression of being a slow learner. A lot of those Dark Angels can be like that. So I suspect there's more to come from him. And he'd be a very interesting runner in the Norfolk if he lines up. Blackbeard is another one of Aidan's that's kind of progressing run to run, was very impressive in the Marble Hill. He would have multiple options over 5 and 6. And one more we'll mention, Matt, is Little Big Bear. because at one of the media mornings there at Aidan's back at the very beginning of the season, before he had a 2-year-old runner at all, he was the one that Aidan highlighted as being particularly forward and fast and exciting. Was beaten narrowly first time out, but won very well second time out, beating a horse of Joseph's called Alexis Zorba, who's going to go for the Windsor Castle despite being a maiden. So he wasn't beating mugs, he was beating a very well regarded horse and beating him well. So he's another one with options over 5 and 6. So keep an eye on the declarations and see how they split all these horses up. But Aidan seems to have a particularly strong hand, but there's no
Kevin,
easy 2-year-old race one at Ascot.
Just going to jump in there, Kevin. I don't know where she will possibly go, but she was mightily impressed. I didn't watch it live, but I have watched it back, the replay. Statuette was just one of those who was thoroughly dominant, always up in the van and stretched right away for a comfortable success. Again, another one with a fancy pedigree and all that. So, could be anything.
Yeah, first crop of Justify. Look at those pictures. She's not, Justify is an absolute beast of a horse physically. He's huge, and this looks a massive filly. Very impressive. The day we saw her, and you watch her past the line. I think she won by 3 lengths, about 50 yards past the line. She was about 8 lengths in front. She's a big, powerful filly. I don't know if she's going to go. I think there's a question mark whether she might skip Royal Ascot and potentially wait for a target a little bit later down the line at home. So I'd say hold all bets there at the minute on her, because until she's confirmed, because I'd say there's a possibility she might not go.
Okay.
I'm just going back finally, Kevin, to the Coventry. Is Age of Kings the main hope of Ireland there, or what are the big 2 or 3, do you think, in the Coventry?
It's difficult to say, Matt, because Aidan has a bunch of options. Yeah. Like as mentioned, he has Blackbeard, Little Big Bear, Age of Kings. I think they're all versatile. They could go 5 or 6. So I suspect they'll be waiting quite late in the day before they make a shout. So I'd be reluctant to push anyone towards an anti-post bet on any of those at the minute, because they could literally line up in any one of a couple of races. The Norfolk, the Windsor Castle, the Coventry. There's a bunch of options. They will split them up, so I'd advise caution at the minute.
Well, Kevin, if you want to find out the latest news, what you do is you go straight to the At The Races mega site for Royal Ascot. All the W's at theraces.com/Ascot for all the expert insight. Blakey's bound to have column after column up there. It's in association with
Betfred,
and it's on the attheraces.com/Ascot mega site. All the news, all the views, all the expert insight right there for you, ready and waiting. And once again, we say well done to our website team, headed up by Matt Taylor, who do a terrific job, you've got to be said. Right. Well, it says it's hard, but the wick surely goes to Godolphin. Hurricane Lane at 4-5 for the Hardwicke Group 2 category. Al Arzi at 6-1, who looked as though he'd finally got his act together last time. Broome has been knocking about for 100 years at 8. Third Realm at 8. Tiona, remember her, at 10-1. La Petite Coco at 12-1. Eshada at 12-1. 14-1. Bar. Sharp, this is surely easy. Hurricane Lane.
Well, do you know the best thing he has in his favour is that, he's not a particularly old horse by any stretch, and we could still see him continue to climb a little bit further than where he is at the moment. He's already a fantastic individual. He's got a brilliant record fresh. Yeah. That's key with him, isn't it? He's got a brilliant record fresh. 3 times he's come out after a little break, obviously prior to his debut, and he goes and gets the job done. He's just straightforward. He's not particularly ground dependent. You'd love to have him in the stable. What's not to like about him? 4-5 does seem a particularly big price, because you're clutching for some of those that are just behind him to either reproduce. The likes of a Tiona needs to bounce back. Alpinista, a triple Group 1 winner, beat obviously the Prix d'Arc de Triomphe winner, Torquedor Tassa. Anyway, so look, there's you're clutching at horses behind that if they're going to turn up. But he looks, I believe you bankered him, didn't you? This week?
I think he's an absolute good thing, and I think Shark's right about the price, Kevin. I just think this is a price that will collapse once he's been declared, because we haven't seen him. People wait for the declaration.
Have you heard much chat about him, Matt? Because it's just been a bit light on news, really. in terms of positive updates. That's the only concern I have, because I'd be with you. This is a very high level horse. You know, he showed it again and again last season at a variety of trips. If he turns up, he wins. But I'd like to hear Charlie Appleby come out now and say, yeah, we're delighted with him. He's flying. All roads lead to the Hardwicke, because it's been a little bit quiet now.
We haven't had a lot of that from the Appleby team, have we? We haven't had a lot of that from the Appleby team. You know, they tend to, you know, rather than you ringing up or getting it or it being out in the press, it's all released in a different way now at the moment, isn't it? You
they do their own videos, don't they?
Through their own channels and videos and everything else, which is, you know, we were praising him before for coming out and giving us all the information. But you did mention earlier on, Matt, that they'd just been a little bit quieter than when we thought, oh, hold on a minute, boys in blue domination again, wasn't it? That's what we were thinking very early on.
At the moment, at least, Kevin, the milers were or are fantastic, but the mile and a half horses aren't. And, of course, you go from the miling part of the first bit of the season to the mile and a half part of the first bit of the season, and therefore it's not a surprise he's been a bit quiet. But on all fronts, it's been a little bit quiet, I think, for Godolphin, compared to how they started, when it just looked like they could win anything they wanted.
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt. Now you can conduct a service for all of our viewers and listeners. Now, pick up that telephone of yours now and get your big fingers at it and text Charlie Appleby there and see can we get an update on Hurricane Lane before the show's finished. You'll do that, won't you?
I mean, I'll try. As I say, they do release their own stuff these days, though, so you tend not to get a response.
Just WhatsApp him, will you?
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
The worst thing you can say is no.
Okay, I'll speak.
Listen to the producer and find out where we're going next.
I'll speak. You go on. Kev, handicaps-wise, it's always a nightmare, and you're trying to find something that we feel as, you know, because they're all classy handicappers that turn up. That's the key, isn't it? And you're trying to find something with a bit of wriggle room. I thought that 5,000 to 1, who'd always threatened to be a good horse for Andrew Balding, he's a possibility for the Wokingham. He floats around on a high 90s rating. He could be one, especially now he's been gelded, that things may click into place. But it's wide open, obviously.
Yeah, look, we got our first set of handicap entries for Tuesday, you know, in terms of the 5-dayers. One that I've had in mind a little in the last couple of weeks for the Ascot Stakes, which is the 2.5 miler on the opening day, is trained by Paul Nicholls, actually. Miranda, the mare, she's a very good hurdler, and she's unexposed at staying trips on the flat. And she just caught my eye at Haydock there on her first run for a couple of months, and I just think maybe they had their eye on this race. You know, I think a real emphasis on stamina will suit her, and I suspect she'll be a very big price now, Jace. She'll be 20 or 25 to 1, and it just wouldn't be a surprise to me now if she ran all right.
Yeah, I mean, so he's the same 5,000 to 1 for the Wokingham. He's a massive price. I had a quick look at Roger Charlton's entries, Matt, and I know that you're a big fan of the Charlton team. You remember a good horse, or we thought he was a good horse when trained by Mark Johnson, called King Zane?
Yes.
We thought he was an absolute rocket. He's recently switched across to Harry and Roger. Real good run for them first up. Bolted up second time. My slight concern, it was at Kempton, where he had previously shown really good form before. He's got a Bunbury Cup entry as well over 7 furlongs, which may well suit him more. But he's a possibility for the Hunt Cup. Just the type that a change of scenery has brought about a huge amount of improvement. He could be a player.
He could be. And Kev, you've got something else?
I mentioned one of the Wokingham. I mentioned Rohan. Won the race last year as a 3-year-old. It was a huge effort. And look, he's done very well at Ascot. He's only been there a few times, and he's got 2 big wins for his trouble. And look, we know the type of horse he is. He can miss the kick quite badly. We saw it in the Flying 5 at the Group 1 of the Curragh last season. It was incredible. He lost so many lengths and was only beaten 2 at the line. But as long as he's not too slowly away and latches onto the main bunch, you know, he'll be one that's hitting the line hard. And it's quite remarkable. He won this race off a mark of 112 last year as a 3-year-old, and he's down to 109 since, you know, despite running well in Group 1s in the meantime. So I know he was disappointing on his comeback run now, but I just wouldn't be surprised if David Evans has had his eye on the Wokingham for the last couple of months. And that race will be a stepping stone to there. So I thought he'll be a huge price again, but I think he's one that could outrun the odds.
Yeah, I just want to throw in there, I don't know if he's going to run, but Royal Patronage in the Jersey just ran in the Derby. I mean,
That's punchy.
I don't think anyone ever thought he was really going to be a stare. And he wasn't disgraced in the Guineas. He's obviously beaten Caribus back in the day. At about 12, 14 to 1.
Yeah, and he
just thought he might not be impossible.
He didn't run bad in the Dante, did he?
No, he ran well in the Dante.
Yeah.
Because Blakey there's laughing at it as if it's got no chance, but
it's not unprecedented, Matt. And I know you're a great student of the game, so I know you know the answer to this, but you might recall a horse that ran the Derby once upon a time and came back and won a July Cup later that year. Man, don't let me down.
Appleby hasn't read the message yet. He's probably asleep.
Which horse ran in the Derby and then won the July Cup? That's what...
Ascot.
There you go. I knew you wouldn't let me down, man.
See, he wasn't listening, Kevin. I just had to rejig him, but he was there. It was in there somewhere.
Yeah. And I can tell you, we haven't got an answer from Charlie Appleby or Haggis, but I double-tracked back on this, and I asked Chris Richardson, and his Sacred goes in the Jubilee, ground permitting, which presumably means she just wants it.
But what we wanted to know was a positive update on Inspiral. Did we get that?
Well, I asked him for that, to be honest, earlier today, and his response to that was, I'll let you know when I know for sure.
OK.
So I think, Shark, I'm right in saying this. This is going to sound funny if you're watching this back in the future, but I think she works in the morning for those who are watching the show live, and I think that's a crucial bit of work for instance.
She works in the mornings as opposed to the afternoons. No? Where are you going with that?
I'm beginning to realise why they pair Harvey with you. No one else would put up with your nonsense. Right, tip time. Thank you for coming
Here we go.
Jason, you go first.
Yeah,
you're our number one.
That Golden Pal in the King's Stand. Each way, Tashcan in the Gold Cup. And obviously, Emiratiana. Look at those 233 to 1 shots there. Each
got
way
100 quid, courtesy of our backers of the show.
Yeah, Betfred.
And they have given you 100 quid.
Yeah.
What do you want to chuck in on?
Would they tell me off if I said, can I have £50 on Golden Pal and £50 each way Tashcan Emirati in a double?
Well, they'd be miserable old souls if they did.
Yeah.
So as backers of our show.
Yeah.
There's no way they can...
They said yes.
They said
yes. £50 on Golden Pal, and we'll have £25 each way double. Tashcan and Emiratiana. There you go. There's your 100.
Thought you were going to do trifectas there and all sorts. Kevin, you have put up 3 selections as well. You also have £100, courtesy of our sponsors, who are
Betfred.
Thank you. What do you fancy?
Well, I tell you what, I want Fred to be writing a big juicy cheque here for the Irish Racehorse Retirement Fund, Matt. So we're going in with light infantry. We're going to go each way, but he's 33 to 1 or so. So hopefully we'll be getting a big payout there. My lay of the week is going to be Golden Pal. Look, that's not a bullish one. I suspect I may have egg on my face and Jason might be rejoicing, but I'm feeling he might run out of steam late on. And the each way selection is Twilight Jet in the Commonwealth Cup. I think he's a super price at around 12 to 1.
Perfect, Kevin. Good luck with 2 of those 3 as far as I'm concerned. We'll have a fist pump about it anyway, and hopefully a pint at Ascot as well. But Matt, now the people want to know, the nation wants to know your 3 selections.
Yes, as they say in life, you leave the best till last. The good thing, Hurricane Lane in the Hardwicke, of course. The Lay Homeless Songs, because I don't think she's going to run. And the each way better than meeting, without any doubt, provided, of course, he does run. Mishriff in the Prince of Wales' stakes. The Forgotten Horse. You are so quick, you two. Just
the charity bet. The
bet will be £50 each way. Mishriff. Why are you laughing?
No, that's fine.
£50 each way, Mishriff, thanks to our backers, who are Team Betfred.
Betfred.
Yeah, well done. It's Betfred. Right, they'll be back next year after this, won't they? Right, that's just about it for the 2022 Royal Ascot preview show on Facebook and elsewhere. It's a good night from me. It's a good night from Shark. Well done, team. You've been absolutely... Blakey, you were brilliant. Sharky, you've always been brilliant ever since you beat Canaan. And I was just... Goodbye.